All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Nicholson with the Judy Nicholson Kidney Cancer Foundation, and I'm very excited to have Angela Lorbeck with us today. She's going to be talking with us about the role of mindfulness and coping with anxiety, and she's been doing some great things at Rush, and she's here to tell you all about it. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the privilege to share her screen. You should have that now. Go ahead,
Okay.
Angela.
Thank you. Fingers crossed. Uh-oh. Let's see.
There we go. We got your screen, and there's the PowerPoint. There we go.
Great. Well, wonderful. Well, it is totally a privilege and an honor to be with all of you today. As Scott mentioned, my name is Dr. Angela Lorbeck, and I'm honored to be with you today to discuss the valuable role that mindfulness has in helping people cope with anxiety. And I just want to thank the Judy Nicholson Kidney Cancer Foundation for this wonderful opportunity. So it is in Chicago. I'm located in Chicago. It's right now, it's 1:03 Central Standard Time. And I'm sure like you and myself, it's been a really busy day already. And a lot of times from the moment that our alarms go off until the moment that our heads hit the pillows, we are like in fifth gear. So I want to give us the opportunity just to pause on purpose, to be present. And so I'm going to walk you through just a very simple mindfulness practice, just to kind of collect our attention, to be present, to get us ready for this presentation today. If you've never done anything like this before, no worries at all. Just follow my guidance. So if you aren't already seated, I'm going to invite you to take a seat and perhaps allow both feet to be flat on the floor. And if you'd like, you can gently close your eyes or allow your gaze to rest on the floor just a few feet in front of you. And while we want to be comfortable during this mindfulness exercise, it's important that we take a posture that embodies a sense of dignity and strength, where the spine is straight, but it's not too tight or tense, and the belly is soft. So let's go ahead and just take 3 nice full breaths in and out at your own pace. A nice full in breath and a nice slow out breath. And just see if you can invite in a sense of relaxation and ease. And after that third breath, of course, just allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm. As you breathe in and out, just see if you might be able to let go of anything that is kind of busy and causing you concern. There's nothing to do right now. There's nowhere to be other than just here and right now. And one of the best ways to help ourselves become more present is to pay attention initially to the body. And so I'm going to invite you to allow your attention to rest on your feet, right where they're connecting with the floor. Maybe the warmth of your socks and your shoes. Just notice your feet connecting with the floor. And notice your body seated in the chair. The weight, the pressure, the touch, where the legs and the glutes and perhaps the back connect with the chair. And as I mentioned, these parts of the body, see if you can just take a moment to soften and relax them. And so let's first just notice our hands and our hands and arms and shoulders. Just take a moment to soften these areas. Check out the cheeks and the jaw and the forehead. Relaxing the face. And then checking out the belly. So often we hold so much tightness and tension in the belly. So it's kind of nice just to take just a few moments to soften the abdomen. And just relaxing, full body present. And as we sit here together, I'm going to invite you to ask yourself the question, what brought me here to want to learn about mindfulness today? Why might I be interested in this class? And just see what comes to mind. Noticing if you have any expectations or hopes, and just be curious about the answer. And one last time, just noticing your body present on the chair. And we'll end with 3 nice breaths in and out. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back into your respective rooms. So before I give you a little bit of context about my background, I just want to pause for a second and I'm going to invite you just to take a moment to assess, how did that feel to pause on purpose, to connect with your breath, to soften the face and the cheeks and the shoulders and the belly. That literally was like 2 minutes. So if you only take one thing away from today's presentation, it's this. This practice does not require that you take a ton of time out of your life to integrate and weave into your busy days. It can be as simple as taking a few breaths. And the benefits of the practice can be really pretty amazing. So we'll talk about that as we continue on. So thank you so much for doing that practice, pausing on purpose. So just to give you a little bit of background, I'm part of the supportive oncology team here at Rush University Medical Center. We're located in Chicago. So you might hear the L tracks going by, you might hear sirens, so just let that be some background noise. But we're a multidisciplinary team of people who are really compassionate and passionate about helping our cancer patients achieve optimal health in the face of their cancer. So in my clinical role, I specifically provide acupuncture to offset the side effects of cancer treatments, as well as help people in their path towards survivorship. So a lot of times people are coming to see me for chronic pain, fatigue, hot flashes, night sweats, GI distress, anxiety, stress, I have to tell you, if you're ever interested in acupuncture and want information, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to share the knowledge that I know. In my academic role, teaching people about mindfulness has been absolutely one of the biggest passions of mine for years, because it's something that you can apply to all areas of your life. And the other thing is that I love talking about this practice because it's backed by science. It's widely recognized for its ability to help us improve our focus and concentration and counterbalancing the negative impacts of stress. So speaking of stress, right, there is no doubt that we as a world of people, right, are facing unprecedented levels of stress and anxiety and uncertainty and fear. And if given the choice, I would imagine that we'd all prefer, right, to be less affected by stress, but we might not know, maybe some of the best ways to deal with that or how to go about that. So I'm excited to let you know that even in the face of daily stressors, each of us has the ability to tap into the most wise and the most resilient parts of ourselves, to respond to stress and the waterfall of thoughts and emotions, right, that come along with our stressors with much greater skill. So just as it turns out, just as you can train your body for fitness, right, tone your muscles, you can train your mind to build resilience through mastering the art of well-being. And that, everybody, is through the practice of mindfulness. So at the very least, I would imagine that most all of you have at least heard of the term mindfulness. The popularity of it has skyrocketed in recent years. It's on the cover of magazines. It's talked about with regularity in the media. Professional athletes are swearing by it. Scientists are studying it. And maybe there's a handful of you who have either tried it out or might even have a regular practice. Or there might be some of you too who have historically kind of shied away from the practice because you may be of the belief that in order to meditate, right, you need to go someplace special and get yourself into some like bubble of bliss, trying to clear your mind of all thoughts in hopes that your stresses will magically disappear. Wishful thinking, right? I wish. But here's the deal. The great thing about mindfulness, it has nothing to do with any of that. This practice is fantastic because number one, it's accessible. You can do the practice anywhere and at any time. You can do it by yourself. You can do it in the presence of other people. And you can absolutely weave many, many mindfulness practices even into the busiest of days. So, and most notably, what's really cool is that practicing mindfulness helps us to develop the skill of honing our attention, one of the most powerful and influential brain systems. So why is this important? I'm going to take a couple minutes to explain this. Our attention is powerful. Our attention is powerful. Our attention is the lens to our life experience. It essentially creates our reality. It determines the moment-to-moment experiences of your life, what you perceive, what you feel, what you remember, what you think, what you do. And unfortunately, our attention is very vulnerable to stress, threats, and poor moods. And so where do these vulnerabilities come from? Unfortunately, the human brain is hardwired to work against us in this area of attention, which creates great obstacles to us really achieving like, positive mental and physical health. And let me just take a moment to share a couple examples. So number one, and we'll see how many of you can relate to this. While each of us may be unique in terms of what brings us happiness and joy, there's one thing that each and every one of us at this presentation today share in common. Our brain is hardwired for negativity. Imagine that these things happen to you today. You got a nice email from a dear friend. The barista at your favorite coffee shop upgraded your coffee to a large for free. You had a great video chat with a coworker. Your boss tells you that you screwed up on a project and lets you know how you need to fix it, all in front of a colleague. The cozy new sweater you just ordered online just arrived in the mail. You're super excited. And you got the best cuddle from your partner. So as you think about those things, like generally speaking, which one of these things would you most likely dwell on all of the rest of the day today, and even when your head hits the pillow? I think I can imagine what most of you are thinking. Even if we experience good things during the day, we are more than likely to dwell on the stress and the setbacks of our life. We give more weight to criticism versus compliments, and we pay greater attention to bad news. This proclivity to pay more attention to the negative is due to what's called the negativity bias. While this built-in bias can be helpful in some circumstances, right, it's not as useful as it once was, and it may adversely affect how we think, how we feel, and how we act. So that's the number one way that the brain kind of works against us. Number two, in any particular moment, as a matter of fact, there's nearly a 50% chance during your waking hours that your mind is engaged in this thing called mind wandering. And there's evidence to suggest that what most often captures our attention during this time of mind wandering, which remember occurs nearly 50% of our waking hours, it pulls our attention away from our task at hand and instead goes to thoughts and preoccupations with our regrets of the past and the worries and stories and anxieties and the what ifs of the future. And when it's hijacked in this way, we are more error prone, our mood sours, and we lack focus, among other things. And unfortunately, this constant stream of mental activity created by the negativity bias, also created by mind wandering, can have detrimental effects on our health and happiness, and be have detrimental effects on our health and happiness, and kind of get in the way of us being kind of the best, in our life. So, but I don't want to stress people out by saying all that stuff, because I have some good news. Even though we can't eliminate, right? We can't eliminate the stressors, the waves of stress from occurring on a daily basis. We can't eliminate, thoughts and emotions from occurring. They are what they are. But here's where the empowerment comes in with mindfulness. And this is why I'm so psyched to and so excited to talk to you guys about this. We can train our brain to respond to what's occurring in our life skillfully, right? So that we're not driven by an automatic place of reactivity all day long. So said in another way, our attention is trainable through the practice of, what do you guys think? Yep, mindfulness. So what exactly is mindfulness? So I'm going to give you the most commonly used working definition that is provided by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's known as the father of mindfulness, out of the University of Massachusetts. And so mindfulness is described as the awareness. So mindfulness is the awareness that arises through paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And if you are hearing this for the first time, second time, 10th time, and you're like, what? I have no idea what that means. Don't even worry about it. I'm still trying to figure it out. But as we do the practices, I'll refer to these things, and I can't ever promise anything, but I really hope that this definition kind of clicks in with when you do the practice. Okay, so the practice, whether you do a formal mindfulness practice, where kind of on the left is an example of a body scan, where you take the time to lay down on the floor and you focus on your breathing, and you literally are paying attention to the sensations of your body from your feet to your head. Or you engage in a mindful walking practice, where you literally, instead of walking from point A to point B and being all caught up in the worries and the what ifs and what the brain does, you are instead, your attention is completely focused on the sensations of walking, one step at a time. You're aware of the colors that are surrounding you right now with fall. Oh my gosh, noticing the beautiful colors of the trees, noticing the smell in the air, noticing the warmth of your clothing against your skin as you walk. The other slide is a picture of people eating. There's a mindful eating practice that you can either do by yourself or with other people. And the whole idea with mindful eating is to just be aware of the sensations of eating, right? I mean, so often that when we're eating, we're just scarfing things down, and we're multitasking, and we're not even present. And by the, like today, I had no judging. I had a small bag of Cheetos, and I was doing some things, and I look down and they're gone. Well, geez. So anyway, so these are just some examples of mindfulness practices. And I love this quote. In the practice, it's not what's happening, it's our relationship to what's happening. That's the key. So mindfulness, not only are we training our attention to pay attention, but we're also training ourselves to be aware of like what we're noticing. And that awareness allows us to relate to those things in a much more skillful, compassionate, and kind, thoughtful way. So that's the whole idea with mindfulness, okay? And so as you do these practices, so I want to let you know that, and I'll be going through this today. So as you do these practices, remember I said before, so let's say that I was taking you through, which we won't be doing today, but I was taking you through a body scan practice. The idea is so how to train your attention is that you would focus your attention on the sensations of your body as you do the scan from your feet all the way to your head. We know research shows that the mind is going to wander. It's going to wander off to what's for dinner tonight. It's going to wander off to what you're going to do for the weekend. It's going to wander off to who just sent me a text. The moment you become aware that your mind has wandered, this is the moment of mindfulness. And then the practice is to shift your attention back to the focus of the mindfulness practice, which was the body scan. So that's the idea. So we'll do this time and time and time again in the practices that I take you through today. So if greater attention and focus isn't enough of an incentive, there is a growing body of research from people all over the world that have discovered that mindfulness can improve your physical health in numerous ways, relieving stress, boosting heart and brain health, reducing chronic pain, improving sleep, and much, much more. So those are all really good things. All right, so I'm going to take you guys through our first foundational practice. And when we're done with the practice, I'm going to pause and ask you guys to provide any sort of feedback that you would like. And then Scott is going to share that information, and I'll respond to any questions and or comments as best as I can. Okay. So the first practice that I'm going to take everybody through is a mindful breathing practice, right? And the great thing about breathing is that, remember how I said that the mind typically has a capacity to either wander off to the past or wander off to the future? Well, with breathing, when you focus on the breathing, you're never breathing in the past, you're never breathing in the future, you are only ever breathing in the present moment. So mindful breathing is a wonderful way to train your attention, to train your brain to be more present instead of being so caught up, right, in the stuff that it gets caught up in. And I want to remind everybody that we breathe nearly 17,000 to 30,000 times a day. So guess what that means? You have 17,000 to 30,000 opportunities to do a mindful breathing practice, even if it's just for one cycle of breath. So there aren't any excuses, right? And it does not require that you go and sit in some yoga room for 45 minutes with your eyes closed. I mean, you can do mindful breathing, at work, at home, on a walk, while you're cooking dinner, in the shower. I mean, we breathe all the time. So lots of opportunities. So the idea with this, and I'm going to walk you through this, you won't have to remember all these things, is I'm going to ask you, if you aren't already seated, to take a seat. I'm going to invite you, if it's comfortable, to have your feet on the floor. You're going to adjust your posture. Your eyes can either be closed or you can gaze them softly on the floor. And the idea that what I'm going to ask you is to pay attention to the sensations of the breath. And that's where we're going to keep our attention anchored. And when I talk about paying attention to the sensations of the breath, this is what I mean. So we can we typically are aware of the sensations of breathing either at the nose, the chest, or the belly, okay? So if you choose to anchor your attention just below the nostrils, what you might notice is the gentle coolness of the air as it enters, as you inhale, and the gentle warmth upon exhalation. All right, so if the nose is where you're going to anchor your attention, that's what I'm going to invite you to pay attention to. If in fact you choose to anchor your attention at the chest, you might notice the gentle, so you're focusing on the sensations of breathing. So you might notice the gentle rise of the shoulders or chest upon inhalation, and then the fall with exhalation. So with each breath in and each breath out. And I left out something. I should have said gentle rise and fall of the shoulders or chest. My apologies. So other people really like to pay attention to the sensations of the breath at the belly. So if you choose to keep your attention here, you might notice the sensations of the rise and fall, or the expansion and contraction of the belly as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So, and again, your focus is going to be on the sensations of the breath. Wherever you choose to focus on, your mind is absolutely going to wander. The moment you notice your mind has wandered off, I will instruct you to make a note of the word wandering. You're going to shift your attention back to the focus of the breath. You might have to do this time and time and time again. That's fine. That's totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So let's go ahead and practice. So again, if you aren't seated, I'm going to invite you to take a seat. And let me just get my little script here. Yeah. So go ahead and feel free to close your eyes or allow your gaze to rest on the floor a few feet in front of you. And kind of make any adjustments that you need for comfort, but remember, it's kind of nice and important to have a posture where your spine is straight but not too tight or tense. And the face and the shoulders and the hands and the belly are nice and soft. So just as we did during that beginning meditation, I want you to take 3 nice breaths in and out at your own pace. And then allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. And it's important just to simply notice your body present, right? Notice your feet connecting with the floor. Notice the various ways your legs, your glutes, or your back connect with the chair, the weight, the pressure, the touch, the warmth. And for the purposes of developing and training our attention and concentration, we're going to focus on the breath. So using our breath as the concentration object, and the idea is to simply allow your attention, allow your awareness to rest on the sensations of the breath, one breath at a time. So let's begin by finding where the breath is most comfortable and enjoyable for you. So that's either at the nose, the chest, or the belly. So take a couple moments to determine for yourself where you'd like to rest your attention. And now that you've found your spot, just let this be your home base, your anchor for this particular meditation. And so for the next several breaths, allow your attention to rest on the entire length of each breath. So by that, I mean noticing the very beginning of the inhalation through the middle to the end, and then the very beginning of the exhalation through the middle to the end, one breath at a time. And the moment you notice that your mind has wandered off, right, make a mental note of the word wandering, no judgment. Shift your attention right back to the sensations of breathing. So at the nose, you might notice the coolness upon inhalation, the warmth upon exhalation. At the chest or the belly, you might notice the gentle rise upon inhalation and the fall upon exhalation. So I'm going to let you go ahead now on your own, and just following one breath at a time. Okay. If you find that you need a bit more help keeping your attention anchored on the breath, consider making a mental note of the word in when you breathe in and out as you breathe out. In as you breathe in and out as you breathe out. It sometimes helps. And see as you continue to breathe, see if you can bring a level of alertness, a level of curiosity to the breath, right? So it's not knowing that you're or thinking about breathing or the anatomy and the physiology of the breath, but just a kind and gentle curiosity of the breath. Another option to keep your attention anchored on the breath is by repeating a mantra as you breathe in. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. And as this particular meditation is coming to a close, perhaps consider offering yourself a gentle sense of kindness, and compassion and gratitude for taking this time to practice. If you'd like, sometimes it's really nice to bring your hand to your heart as a way of offering yourself some kindness, and just kind of tune into the sensations of what that feels like. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back into your room. So again, before I ask people for feedback, I just want you to take just 30 seconds just to notice. What was that like? I mean, that was literally it was probably around 3 minutes. What was that like for you to essentially pause on purpose to do a mindful breathing practice? All right, so let's open this up in the chat box. What did you notice during this breathing practice? And or how might you weave this into a busy day? Like how might you incorporate this into your life?
This may just be me, but I had trouble at first blocking out the stuff on my agenda for the day. But as I start focusing on the breath, um, the important things sort of bubble up to the top, but I can maybe prioritize a little better.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
I guess it was sort of hard for me to turn my mind off about things I have to do for work. And Jacqueline saying, I agree, Scott, but it got she says, no chats are needed. They got easier during the exercise. I get essentially as I'm trying to breathe through it, it does get easier, and it allows me to focus a little more on rest. Like I notice I carry a lot of tension in my shoulders. I carry tension in my I notice if I'm sitting at my desk, I'll put my toes up and think that I'm just carrying a lot of tension in my calves, in my shoulders. And when I start breathing, I recognize where that tension is. It allows me to relax. And then I'm not as stressed, and I feel more able to suddenly the things that were weighing me down, they don't feel like there's such a weight anymore, I guess is the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth said that she feels a sense of calmness from doing it. And Jacqueline said that she thinks it can be incorporated into a day when treatment side effects are ramping up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to stop you for just a moment, Scott. One of the things that you said is that, well, you didn't necessarily, this isn't, word for word, but what you essentially said was you really became aware of the fact that your mind is all over the place. It's worried about work. It's worried about your to-do list. It's blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing to even be aware that that is occurring, right? I mean, that occurs nearly 50% of our waking hours. It's just nonstop like this. And so the other thing so just to have that awareness is fantastic. The other thing that you mentioned is when through that mindful breathing practice, you became aware that you are holding tension in your body. And this is the beautiful thing about mindfulness, is that it gives us a chance to, it's a feedback mechanism. A lot of times when I'm doing this, when I'm facilitating this with groups, they'll say, wow, I didn't realize how exhausted I am, or wow, I didn't realize how much tension I hold in my shoulders all day long. And I've been wondering why I go home and I have a pounding headache. Well, you've probably been like, I mean, we're all like this these days, right? So mindfulness, I mean, just practices, even if you're just following the cycle for one breath, following one in breath and following one out breath. And as you notice things in that moment, you can shift and adjust your posture. You can, whatever you need to do, so that that awareness just helps you be more present, less tense, and that sort of thing. And another person said that they could see using this practice on a treatment day. And I think that is brilliant. This is the kind of practice that you can pull out of your pocket at any time. So I love it. Any other comments or questions?
Sherry said that to take a couple minutes to stop what I'm doing and focus on my breath and the relaxation of muscle groups. I'm a yogi at heart, so I understand the benefits for me.
Yeah. That's great. That's wonderful. Um,
And my wife and I, we've been into yoga a long time, and well, not a long time, I'd say 7 years. And but the I was really into a type of yoga that focused a lot on meditation and breath work. And my wife used it when she was in labor. They were giving her an epidural, and they kept poking her in the spine, and it was, I'm sure, incredibly painful. But they had to do it multiple times because they kept messing up or something. Anyway, afterwards, they told her and me that she that it was amazing that she wasn't freaking out, because apparently most people scream how painful that part of it is. But what she was doing when she was getting that was that breath work and that meditating essentially, and going sort of within a shell or going like in themselves and just focusing on that breath work can really allow you to power through or just sort of focus on something that isn't painful in order to get through it.
yeah,
And
absolutely. That's great. Lots of application. Okay. I don't know why do you see a red streak?
yeah, I know we have the ability to do that, but I'm not, I don't remember how. Let me figure
Oh,
it out.
okay. Yeah, no problem. All right, I'll just continue on. So, so thanks everybody for going through that mindful breathing practice. So earlier I mentioned that we are hardwired for the negativity bias. Rick Hansen, a neuroscientist, is infamous for his, I guess, phrase of the mind is like Velcro for the negative and Teflon for the positive. And so one of the ways that we can increase our resilience to stress and help, especially with anxiety, is by kind of retraining the brain to not be as focused on the negative things in life. And one of the ways that we can do this is through a practice called 3 Good Things. I learned about this practice probably 3 years or so ago, when a gentleman by the name of Dr. Brian Sexton from Duke University came to Rush to talk about this practice that they were doing throughout the Duke University medical system, to help their clinicians increase resilience to stress. And this has been done time and time again, in a variety of settings, found to be very helpful. So I want to take you guys through this. So the person who came up with this idea, his name is Dr. Marty Seligman. He's out of the University of Pennsylvania. And he and Tracy Steen, his research associate, asked people to do this activity one night a week for 1 week. And the research found that as they focused on things that were going well, research found that they had improvements in resilience, the quality of their sleep was better, they felt like they had greater balance, and even it positively affected their mood. So this is going to be more of an interactive thing. It's not going to be a meditation per se, but it's going to be more of an active activity, I guess. So I'm going to ask you to grab a piece of paper and a pen, if you don't already have one, and reflect on the previous 24 hours and ask yourself, what has gone well? What are 3 good things that have happened? And for each of those good things, identify which of the following emotions best fits the good thing. So I'm going to give you guys, like three or so minutes to do this. So go ahead and get started. We'll give you another minute. All right. So I'm really curious from people, what did you notice as you did this activity? And I guess one of the first things I'm curious to know is how many people honestly felt that this was a little difficult. I don't know if you can see hands raised or anything like that, Scott.
Well, I felt it was difficult. Nobody's raised their hand or chatted yet, but I did find it difficult. However, I think one of the reasons why it's easy for this to be difficult is that people have a tendency to be real critical of themselves. We are our own worst critic, and sometimes, you know, it's okay to understand that it's okay to love ourselves. It's okay to give ourselves more leeway than we would have maybe the people we work with or work for us, and we just have to be kinder to ourselves and kinder to each other, I think, and that makes things a little bit easier. So I'll give you my list. Like I said, and if I look back at yesterday, I'd say that I might have had more challenges than I did successes. What was something I was grateful for? Some gratitude I had is that I got a full 8 hours sleep last night, and that isn't something that happens all the time. Something that was interesting to me is that my favorite podcast had one of my favorite guests on it, and that was exciting for me. And I also had closure on a relationship with a friend that I needed closure on. And so all of those things I consider wins in a day that if I hadn't been taking this exercise, I might have said yesterday was not a great day, but if you give yourself forgiveness, you give yourself compassion, just like you would a friend of yours, you should give those things to yourself too. And I think that when you do that, and you boil things down a little bit deeper, you can find things that were good in that day.
That is exactly right. And I mean, that's what, and I'd like to hear if there are any other comments about what people's experience was like, but that's the beauty of this practice. It provides a very simple structure for you to reflect on perhaps frequent and small things that happen, right? That often just kind of things that we wouldn't even, like you said, Scott, like things that we typically wouldn't even pay attention to. And just doing that significantly impact our emotional well-being, right? And so anyway, anybody else have any comments on?
We did have a few other comments. Somebody said that they're grateful for this exercise. Other people said that they were able to get their 3, but it took a while for them to think of it. Another person said that they were inspired by this presentation, and then that's it for now. But I think people are in that situation where they're not giving themselves enough credit for the things that we deal with every day.
Yeah. And even if, yeah, I mean, and so I'm going to challenge you guys. I'm going to go back to this slide. If you wanted to, I don't know if you have your phones and you want to take a picture of this, but I'm going to challenge you to do this.
We got a good one. Ken said, a piece of my apple crumble with coffee, an afternoon with my daughter, and the Dodgers win.
Yay! That's great. That's great. So I want to challenge everybody on this, at this meeting today to actually do a 3 good things challenge for 1 week. And every night at the same time, you get out a piece of paper and a pen and you jot and you reflect on the previous 24 hours, write down 3 good things and identify the good emotion that each good thing. And right now during this pandemic, right, during social isolation or whatever, like it's a nightmare. But you know what? Find someone, either obviously if you have someone at home that you can do this with, like find an accountability partner to do this with. It's great to do with other people. It's great to do it virtually with other people, and just see as the week goes on, just see how much more quickly your attention picks up on the good things as they're happening in real time. That's what happened to me 3 or 4 years ago when Brian Sexton brought this to us from Duke. They actually invited us to do a challenge with Duke. And so every night at 7 o'clock, I received a text message and it said, do the 3 good things practice. And the first few nights I'm like, oh my gosh, like what has gone well here? It's been nothing but, a disaster at Rush, this. And then by golly, by day, 4, 5, I was noticing good things as they were happening in the moment. I had a pad of paper in my lab coat and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to include this in my 3 good. It was really cool. So anyway, there's a challenge for you. Okay. All right, good. All right. All right. This is perfect timing. This is the last part of our presentation and a really powerful way to wrap this up. But I'm going to talk about a sense of connection. So another way to bolster resilience and another way to kind of improve our emotional well-being is through cultivating a greater sense of connection. Of course, we know as human beings, we're totally wired for connection, right? Strong social connections are not only important for our emotional well-being, but really can benefit our physical health. Research shows that those who have social support and they feel connected have a stronger immune system, experience lower rates of anxiety and depression, and may even live longer than those who are socially isolated. Unfortunately, as I just mentioned, life as we know it has been absolutely interrupted, including our habits of social connectedness. So while we're practicing social distancing and trying to do everything that we can to flatten the curve, it's important to remember we don't have to be flattened by it, and we can find creative ways to stay connected. And so one science-backed way to do this is through a practice called loving kindness. And so this particular meditation, it's sometimes people like it because it involves a little bit more of imagery, if you will. So I'm going to have you guys sit back. I'm going to guide you through this practice, and then we'll have the opportunity to talk about it. This is a little bit of a longer meditation, so make sure that you're, kind of sitting somewhere, or if you'd like to lie down or whatever, if you can, because it takes a good, at a minimum, 10 minutes, okay? So go ahead and get into a position and posture that is comfortable for you. And close your eyes if that's comfortable, or allow your gaze to rest on the floor a few feet in front of you. And just as we've been doing with all of the other practices, just take 3 or 5 nice full breaths. And then allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. So I'm going to invite you to bring to mind someone who, when you think of them, you immediately get this sense of warmth and love in your heart. So I'm going to ask you to bring that person to your mind's eye and imagine them standing or sitting next to you. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that from your heart center to yours, you are sending feelings of goodwill, kindness, and warmth to them by silently repeating the following phrases. And so just follow along. So as you have this person in your mind's eye, you're sending these phrases of loving kindness to this person, okay? May you be well. May you be well. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. And if you'd like, you can bring your hand to your heart and just kind of get a sense for how that feels to send these phrases of loving kindness to the person that you've brought to mind. And then when we start to do this practice, it's very common that other people that we love and we care for begin to pop into our mind. And so now allow other people in your life who, when you think of them, you get just a sense of warmth and love in your heart. Imagine them standing kind of in front of you, maybe in a semicircle or a circle. And from your heart center to theirs, you are sending, may you be well. May you be well. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. And again, just taking a nice breath, just pausing, just to notice what it feels like to send these phrases of loving kindness to the people that we love. And now imagine that the person or the people that you've brought to your mind's eye now turn to you. And from their heart center to yours, you receive the following phrases of loving kindness. May you be well. May you be well. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. Taking a couple of breaths. Taking a moment just to notice the sensations of what that feels like to receive phrases of loving kindness from other people. And then we take the opportunity to wish ourselves these phrases of loving kindness. So often we're so good at being kind to other people that we often forget to be kind and loving to ourselves. So wish the following to yourself. May I be well. May I be well. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be safe. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. And so just taking a couple of nice breaths. Just taking a moment to pause to notice what that feels like, to wish yourself well. And what if we decided to take just another few moments to send these phrases out to the people in our household, out to the people in our neighborhood, out to the people in our communities, out to the people in our respective states. Why not send it out to the world? To people we will never, ever meet, but today might just benefit from a little loving kindness. So collectively, let's send out the following phrases to people. May you be well. May you be well. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. So we'll end with 3 nice breaths in and out. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back into the room. So I'm curious, what did people notice as they did this practice?
Had some people getting emotional, getting teary-eyed. I don't think people tell themselves these things enough. I don't think anybody really takes the time to to wish these things, whether we're wishing or praying or meditating or speaking to the universe, sending it out to the universe, whatever we want to call it. I don't think people set their intentions enough, or are kind enough to themselves. And I think when you take the time out of your day to focus on these things, especially when in a guided meditation setting like this, or mindfulness setting like this, and people are telling you, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be safe. And we're internalizing these things, and we hear our own voice saying them to ourselves. I think there's power in that. I think that there's I think us telling ourselves that gives it power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So one of the things that you said, Scott, that you read in the comments was people found this to be that it brought up some emotions. And I have to say that if you felt emotional during this particular guided meditation, it is so common. It happens every single time I facilitate this. Now, these phrases are just suggested phrases. They're kind of traditional phrases that are used for loving kindness, but you can substitute anything you want to do. And if you found that often the other comment that I often hear from people, or the piece of feedback that I often hear from people, is that this practice seems to be much easier to do when we're sending it out to people, like to the person we brought to mind, to the people we bring to mind. But then when I transition and have you receive it, or have you give it to yourself, a lot of times you were like, wow, that was wild. Like it was kind of a lot more difficult. And if people, who are with us today for this presentation felt that same thing. It's normal. As Scott mentioned, we don't often take the time, right, to wish ourselves well and send positive thoughts maybe to ourselves in this way. And so if you felt that way, no judgment, it is what it is, right? But this is a powerful practice. I can tell you that as a clinician, I've been at Rush for 18 years. I've been providing and care for our cancer patients since 2007. So I've treated thousands and thousands of people over the years. And as a clinician, I care deeply about my patients. I care deeply about their stories. I care deeply about their interest in their well-being. And I take my job really seriously, and I care a lot. Like, I cry when people win stuff on TV. So, hearing the stories and a lot of times the suffering of the people of my patients. And so, I mean, it can be heavy. And so as a way of tending to the suffering that I see and being able to relate to that, instead of getting upset, I walk through the halls, and I don't say this out loud because I might be picked up by security, but I repeat these phrases as I'm walking through the waiting area, as I'm walking into my treatment room. And it's a beautiful way for me to help with the kind of the stress that I feel as a clinician. And these days, especially with the pandemic, I mean, thinking about people in your life that you can't connect with right now, that I mean, this can be a really beautiful practice. I want to stop for a second and ask Scott if there are any other comments or questions.
Yes, ma'am, there are. One person said that they kept seeing more and more people joining their circle.
Yep.
And another person said that I have a very difficult time focusing on one person, but
Yep.
instead, all my children were visualized and more people were emerging. Since my diagnosis, I've gained gratitude for many things that were previously not even considered in my mind. These experiences and practice create a lot of emotion. That was from Sherry.
Okay, thanks, Sherry. Yeah, it's a great practice to get into. And again, these are just suggested phrases. You can use whatever you want. If you really like this practice, I'm going to have you write down the name of, so there's a few nationally, kind of internationally renowned mindfulness teachers that I want you to look into if you're digging this stuff. So one woman is out of Massachusetts, and her name is Sharon Salzberg, S-A-L-Z, is it B-U-R-G or B-E-R-G? Sharon Salzberg. And she has books on loving kindness. She's kind of known as like the person who kind of created this in a way here in the United States. So Sharon Salzberg is amazing. Kristen Neff, Dr. Kristen Neff, N-E-F-F, out of the University of Texas at Austin. She too does a lot of research on self-compassion. So she's got some stuff on her website. Sharon Salzberg also often has like a 30-day compassion or loving kindness challenge. So check her out. If there's another person who is actually one of my favorites, her name is Dr. Tara Brach. She's a psychologist, but she's a huge meditation teacher. And she does she has a lot of recorded what are called Dharma talks that are given typically at like retreats, meditation retreats. I mean, there's all sorts of people who are doing really cool things, but these are just a few off the top of my head that I wanted to share with you. All right, so we're heading into the finish line. We need to get off the line here at 2:30. And I just want to thank everybody. Like, we got together today to talk about the powerful role that mindfulness can play in your life. the whole idea with mindfulness is about developing an awareness and about paying attention, in a way where you're like, you're becoming aware of things, and you're not having any judgment, and you're responding to what's happening in a sense, with a sense of kindness and compassion. You learned 3 things today. So you learned a mindful breathing practice, you learned the 3 good things practice, and a loving kindness practice. And, I'm kind of giving the keys to you guys. It's up to you to get into the habit of pausing on purpose. Again, even if it's just for 1 cycle of breath. If you like any of this stuff, if you like anything that I've said today, please get into the habit. Weave many moments into your day, find an accountability partner, remain curious. If the mindful breathing practice didn't work today, don't just throw it away and say, I'm never going to try that again. Remain curious about it, right? Every moment is a new moment. So, and try them out in different situations. Sometimes people like to do, but I'm just using mindful breathing as the first thing in the morning, or they like to do it at lunchtime, or they like to do it when they're going to bed. If you have a hard time falling asleep, oh my gosh, mindful breathing can be amazing. If we had time, there are so many other mindfulness practices that I could walk you through. I typically facilitate actually a 4-week mindfulness series, where each week the practices build upon one another. And I like doing it kind of in small groups, so that there's a lot of sharing and interacting. And that's a really nice way of getting into the habit over a 30-day period. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Scott, for facilitating and getting us all organized and all on board. It's been great to work with you, and thank all of you for your time. I know everybody is so busy. And I don't know if anybody we have a few minutes for questions or comments. If anybody wants to share.
Well, the thank you is mutual. We're very thankful to have had you here today, Angela, and to take people down this path, because I do think that this is a very powerful way for people to deal with the stress that everybody has with the cancer diagnosis and the treatments that go along with it. And so this is a very powerful tool that I think people should utilize. And we're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat right now. And these conversations that we're having a few times a month, we're going to continue to have them. We've got another one coming up November 11th that we are working on the details of now. And if you follow us on Facebook or you check into our website regularly, you'll see some more information coming up on that. So please check back with us, and we'll continue to bring these talks to you. And hopefully in the future we can get you back, Angela, because I think this was really good and there's more of this that we could explore.
Great, great. Love it. All right, everybody. Well, take good care, and keeping everybody in my thoughts, and have a good holiday season, and we'll see you again another time.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. This video will be up pretty soon. If you check us out on Facebook or on our website, and you missed any part of this, you'll be able to catch it there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.